Okay, so this is gonna be well, hopefully a tutorial. Really, I kind of wanted to do a tutorial on like what I've done for AVO this time around, but I've been working on this literally the entire day, so I've spent like 12 hours on this, and if I made the video that long, hell, I probably wouldn't even have enough hard drive space for that type of video. So I'll just go over what I did, and yeah, so I made a video 3 months ago that was explaining how I edited the AVO list back when it was, I think, AVO 3, AVO 3 point something, 3.2, I don't know. But this is AVO 4, which is now only one list. It used to be two lists. There was AVO AE and then AVO regular if you didn't have all the Creation Club stuff. But now it's all merged because it's been a while since Skyrim dropped the Creation Club stuff, so it's pretty much assumed that everyone has it already. So I do like the merge though, because it means they have to spend less time working on like two different lists, which obviously takes up a lot of time because they're pretty much identical lists. So AVO, first of all, I just need to establish some things. This is a really good base. This is a really, really good base. And however, I have to add the however into this. There are a few mods in this list that are pretty much a nightmare when it comes to patching. Most of those you can remove. Now, when you remove mods, you always have to make sure you go into this little thing here and make sure that it doesn't say that a missing master, which means, and it'll also show up here if you have a missing master. Now that can be very problematic because if you're missing this, for instance, this is the last thing in the load order. It's probably the most important. There's a lot of stuff in here that is making a variety of changes, and that needs to be last. So I generally advise, you see all these mods that I've added, you don't see them here. I generally advise moving everything below lighting mods. So pretty much everything I put below quick start, because this is Lux Via, Lux Orbis, Lux. Generally, if you're adding mods that edit cells and world spaces, which I haven't added too many of those. I've added a few, but not too many, because it's a nightmare after a certain point. But if you're adding those mods, generally a lighting mod will overwrite it, and then you'll have to make a bunch of patches. Now, a way to get around that is by putting it below the lighting mods, because the cell itself, like the cell name, for instance, Bleak Falls Barrow, that cell will have a bunch of changes to it that are being changed by these lighting mods here. So you want those to be overwritten. Even if it's adding new stuff, that stuff won't be touched by what's being touched here, unless specifically Lux is, and this does this often. So you really always have to check in XEdit to make sure that everything's smooth, because you don't want any errors in game. So you have to do that. So yeah, back to my original point. There are some problematic mods in here. I will list them. For instance, there is the unofficial Skyrim modders patch. Where is it? Is it? Yes, it is. It's right here. This is the unofficial Skyrim modders patch. Now, as you can see, if I disable it, which I disable this here, and then you should immediately see missing masters, and it is required by a lot of these things. Now, Dindulad, if you wanted to remove this mod, you would have to rerun Dindulad, Synthesis, delete these patches that say USMP. So it's generally just better to try to patch it if you can. It doesn't really strictly matter if you don't. It depends on the what's being overwritten. Now, obviously, unofficial Skyrim Special Edition patch, which is a completely different thing, that also makes a lot of changes. Now, some people are of the mind that you have to make patches for these kinds of major patch mods, I guess. I don't think it strictly matters too much. I think it's generally, per whatever. Like if you look in XEdit and you see what's being overwritten and you don't think it's a big deal, then you're good. But if you think it's a big deal, if you want everything to be perfectly smooth, absolutely no red in XEdit, just all green, then yeah, go by all means, just do that. But I don't strictly feel that's always 100% necessary. Now another mod that I actually did delete, which is I think it's called BC. Here it is. BC036 tweaks. Now this is largely handles vampire stuff. So if you are installing, let me just clear these filters. If you are installing some kind of overhaul mod, like this is my Simon room section, I have Scion. This is the vampire overhaul. If you're using Sacrilege or something else, then you want to turn that off, because that is gonna just, again, it's literally all the same. Well, not the same. It's less of an overhaul and more of just like a bug fixing thing. So you generally want to remove that. There's a few other things that are problematic here. Oh, right, here it is. It's this. Now, this is also something that you can't really disable without having a bunch of missing masters, which makes it extremely problematic if you want to install Mysticism. Now, okay, this takes more explaining here. I can already see this video getting out of hand. So when you are downloading patches, you should never automatically assume that because it's the patch is there that it's gonna fix everything and it's all gonna work fine. The reason why I say that is because Mysticism is one of those spells, one of those mods actually. Simon Magnus does a lot of updating. There is an update usually, at least, it used to be like every week, and now it's like every month, but that's still pretty frequent. So he updates his mods a lot. So any patches for Mysticism, Animate, or whatever, you have to look at the dates. They have to be version specific, because if they aren't, you're gonna have a broken mod. You're gonna have something that's not. It's gonna be worse than a conflict. It's just gonna be broken. So make sure that there is one. And I checked, there isn't one for BURP. Now normally I just remove it, but again, missing masters, you can't really remove this without there being a lot of issues. It's just one little plugin, but watch, as soon as I do that, synthesis needs to be rerun. Is that the only one? It is. Oh, okay, this one's relatively easy, actually. Okay, you could probably rerun synthesis then, and I'll show you how to do that. This one's pretty simple. I haven't really done it because I don't really think it matters too much. It's being overwritten anyways. It doesn't. I don't feel that it really matters, but, you know, again, I've done this so many times that after a certain point I kind of just get tired of all the manual patching. And I also have carpal tunnel syndrome, which means if I do too much clicking, like, my hand will hurt a lot. So again, do this at your own discretion. If you have to, if you need to. It'll look ugly and red in XEdit. You won't like it. So if you have OCD, you really might want it. You might feel the need to go through and patch that. But yeah, so that's the mods here that are problematic, that are really make patching a bit of a nightmare. I checked out AVO's README on. I don't think it's actually been updated in a while, so I wouldn't 100% rely on that either, because it mentioned some stuff about synthesis it was referring to an older version, and now with the newer version, it's kind of not that way. This list used to use enhanced lighting for ENB, which was a really easy lighting mod that you could actually run synthesis and then have it patch all of your files here. Now, talking about synthesis, most of the stuff that you'll see here in finishing line, these are output files. These are really handy if you want to keep your overwrite clear, and I highly recommend keeping your overwrite folder as empty as possible. I just have this shader cache folder and SKSE, which this is pretty much unavoidable. If you really want to get nitty and gritty and you want to put these stuff in their proper folders, you can. However, it's not, it's, as long as you don't let this folder get out of control, you're generally good. However, when it comes to running stuff like body slide, nemesis, synthesis, text gens, everything, I generally recommend using these types of folders. And if you want to check which one it is, you could just go in here and it'll tell you, and you can actually change it. Like I changed this one to my own synthesis output because I didn't really care for, like, well, okay, and this goes in, okay, I'm just going tangent to tangent to tangent. I probably won't even, I don't have a script for this. There's no script, I'm just talking, right? Let me just pull up my Skyrim Special Edition folder here. This is my gigantic folder here full of everything to do with Skyrim. What was I talking about? Okay. So mods Wabbajack, AVO, AVO 3. See, I've done this multiple times already. This is my old 1597 AVO folder, which has everything that I did and all the mods in case I ever want to redo that. So this is the way I do everything. Obviously, if you have the storage space, you could do this. This folder is pretty massive though, so I'd understand if you really can't spare 200 gigabytes to do this, but mods Wabbajack, AVO. If you go into, this is my backup folder. So whenever you're doing a list like this, you generally want to back up everything that you're about to edit. So I backed up the profile folder first because that was the most important, just to have everything back to stock vanilla. Well, not vanilla, but like AVO vanilla. I have the Nemesis output also backed up and the original synthesis output backed up. So I do this because, you know, if you don't want to reinstall the Modlist and have it hash everything and redelete everything that you've put. By the way, if you want it to ignore stuff you've added, you have to put the no delete. I just do the numbers to keep better track of everything, but you don't have to do that. It's entirely optional. Just make sure you put the no delete. But if you don't want to have to reinstall everything because you accidentally overwrote some file that now you realize, oh no, I made a mess up, always back up everything before you edit it. And even have like multiple different versions of that if you want. And also make sure you always back up your Modlist and your load order files, which can be found F and then AVO, or really wherever you put stuff. It doesn't have to be F, it has to be like whatever drive it is. And then game root, which is the stock game folder. This pretty much you can leave untouched. I just put a batch file in here, but you want to go to profiles, which has the AVO NG. This is the profile, and then you can back this up. You can back up just Modlist and load order is usually fine. I actually had a minor scare a few hours ago where I accidentally screwed up my entire load order, and everything was like alphabetical, and I was like, oh shit, I royally messed up here. And then I had these two files, so I just restored them and everything was back to normal, and I just breathed out a sigh of relief there. Whew, just a big sigh of relief. So make sure you always, especially if you've added this many stuff. This is like 80, around, okay, this is probably like around 110 or 120 separate mods, but total, like, if you're just counting the mod itself and not all the patches and stuff, I've added around 80 mods. So again, this list is actually, I've kind of built this off of what Arisen used to be. So if you don't know, Arisen recently was discontinued at version 1.4.3.2. and a new list that I cannot pronounce was it's in here somewhere. It's this Faluan. I don't know. I don't know what the fuck it means. But anyways, that list was it's the new Arson. So Arson 2.0 is that list that's 1.0 now. Instead of updating the list, Aljo just I guess created a new list and left Arson up for, I guess it's still probably downloadable, but it's like there's no longer any support for it. So it's an unsupported list, but it's still available for download if you want it. So if you do want it, I'd recommend grabbing it. It's a really good list. I actually like it a lot. And I actually like it more than the new one, because the new one, if you don't know, it removed a bunch of mods. For instance, it removed Valhalla Combat, which I really like, because of the way it handles stamina, blocking. I think it can block. Is it that one that blocks arrows too? Or is it precision? I think it's Valhalla Combat that blocks arrows. But yeah, so I also use the Arson player movement and combat animations that I pulled directly from Arson, because otherwise you'd have to find and download every single moveset mod on the Nexus, and then you'd have like a bunch of those. So you'd have like a whole list full of them. This, the way Arson handled it was literally just like one folder that has a whole bunch of different, like there's dozens and dozens and dozens, and I really like the way it does that. So yeah, so this is how I just recreated that, and then I re-added Inconvenient Dungeons, which was also removed from Arson, as well as Draugr MCO, and Handplay Spawns, which is actually one of my own mods. I have several. You see, the thing is, when you want to mod Skyrim, you end up learning to become a modder yourself, and yeah, so I have a few mods, and this is one of them, and yeah, so that was also removed, and you know, I just don't care for those decisions. I think that they're I like those mods a lot, so having them removed is kind of, you know, it's personal preference, you know. Now, this is important if you're using a controller. I highly recommend using one-click power attack control Mac for 8 hotkeys. Now this, let me find it. It's AVO and then control map. Let me move this over here. So this is what it looks like. So you have 2 empty keys. This is the modifier, which means you have to click this and then press B to access your favorites menu. It takes a little while to get used to, but this control map is kind of almost the same as the one Arson used, with a few keys that are like a little bit different. But I highly recommend using this over something like separate power attacks, which is a little bit weird. One-click power attack has been updated. Everything has been updated. This is a full 1.6.640 list. I believe the only mod that's still not updated is Zupa, and I think it's because source code isn't public or something. I don't know, but yeah. So this is pretty much this is like, it's built off of how Arson was. Now, if you want to get really like close to Arson, you can do a few other things. For instance, this is my Arson folder when I was modding Arson, but that's actually not where I'm storing these mods. I'm storing them in mods 3, right? And then, so if you want the character creation to look exactly like Arson, then I highly recommend going to, I have it stored here, Arson Custom. Okay, let me move this over here so you can see it, and then, so this is the latest version of Arson. 1.4.3.2. I don't think the others have been really updated properly, so you kind of have to rely on this one that I uploaded. I'm not going to get rid of it or change it or anything. I'm just going to leave it up because, you know. Now, this is a huge list, obviously. There's like, I believe with my additions, it's up to around 2,000 mods. And I didn't add too many mods. I just added a few that I liked and left it relatively the same. But it's around 1,900 or 2,000, I guess. Yeah, it's a lot of mods. But if you want to follow this, then you can. And looking back on my other, let me just pull this up here so I don't have to back up. These are all of Arson's weapons that I pulled from here and re-downloaded because I wanted to have all the weapons. Now, that they're not in here yet. I am highly considering whether or not to place them in my upgraded AVO, but I might add a few of them because I already have animated armory, I already have heavy weaponry, so the movesets are all there, but I don't have all these weapons, obviously. And if you want twin blades, if you want extra halberds, there's a whole bunch of stuff here, obviously. But, yeah. So this is, let me go back to the other one here. This stuff here, graphics, everything here, which is, again, this is a lot of mods. So this is around 10, or, rounding up, it's around 10 gigs. 10 gigabytes of just character visuals. If you want to add those, you can just go here and go to graphics. Graphics. Body slides. Okay, so this is the first one. See, graphics, skin, body, head, body slides, hair, eyes, brows, makeup, scars, overlays, miscellaneous. I mean, there's a lot here. There is a lot. That's why the Arson characters look so damn good, is because it has all this extra stuff here. So, you know, go crazy if you want. Even though I have it all downloaded, it's such a hassle setting up all the FOMOD installers and stuff that I probably won't even do that. Like, we'll see. I just had a really good play session. I just tested Bleak Falls Barrow. So that's not a comprehensive test by any means, but it showed me the combat. I got to test out several different movesets. I got to saw how enemies behaved and the way their movesets worked, and test for any bugs. There was no crashes. Everything was working smoothly. So for me, it's pretty much finished. And of course, I shared this load order already. I'm going to share it in the description of this video. But this is just an overview. I'm just going to scroll down so you can scroll down slowly. But let's go into XEdit because I want to show you some of the extra patches that you probably will have to make. Now, the first time you start up XEdit, it will take a while because it's pre-caching everything here, and that all that takes a long time because it just has to open every single mod, read all the references and stuff like that. But then all the other times afterwards, it should be pretty smooth, pretty snappy. See, it's nearly finished now. It's just about done. It just needs a couple more seconds. Come on. There we go. Okay. So background loader finished. That means it's done. So I'm going to go down here. Obviously, you can see everything important is lowered to the bottom. Water mods, water for E and B, lighting mods, all this stuff is super important. So just make sure everything is above it like this. Now, if you want to expand everything, you just click, you hold Alt and then you double click with your mouse, and that'll expand everything here. Now, this looks scary. This looks pretty scary. To a new user, it would look really scary because of it's not green. Everything isn't perfect. If you look at this, for instance, this is not a conflict because the way Heavy Armory patched it to work was this is included in this. So it's some stuff you can't really rely on it completely to think that it's patched. Other things, it's more obvious, and I'll get to that in a minute. Let's see. Yeah, some of this stuff like surrounded dialogue edit. For instance, this is a unofficial Skyrim patch here that it says it's a conflict, but this has been deleted, so it's not really important. Other stuff, you could argue that maybe it does need to be patched, like this. I mean, it's just minor differences here. The most of what unofficial Skyrim Special Edition patch does is a lot of I feel like are unnecessary edits. They could be unnecessary based on like how you look at things. A lot of them are grammar mistakes that are corrected. I don't personally feel like those are like important enough where you have to go through every single thing here and fucking patch it. I mean, you can again, but you know, grammar. I don't care. I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'm not gonna spend all that time there. But everything here has been patched. Everything here has been patched to work perfectly, and you want to make sure there's that because it can get really difficult for level lists, for instance. Like I made this recently, this Ka-Chunk crossbow patch, because these bolts were not getting proper distribution, which was actually issue with the list itself rather than any of my meddling. It was literally a problem with the list itself. So I had to correct that, and so some of these I wanted this, which is the crossbow, to be in this, which is everything to the right is the final product. So this is what's going into the game right here. This is not going into the game. This is not going into the game. This is not going. Only this one right here. So you got to make sure that the thing itself and all these masters here, if this has this master right here, that means that no matter where you place this in the load order, it's gonna be pushed further down if you don't have if you have a master like this. It will automatically push things down. So you got to make sure that you always go here and you sort masters to make sure everything is neat. It's peace of mind, really, because there's a lot of different moving parts here. I mean, it can really get out of hand if you don't like perfectly watch what you're doing and make sure everything is just perfectly done. So that was XEdit. I could show more, but there's really nothing that needs to be patched. I will actually include an example, though. If I go to my Nexus page here, what was that bandit over called? Lawless. I'm going to go to Lawless, and let me just download this, because this is a perfect example of what I feel like is something that's incredibly difficult to patch. So if I go into Lawless Bandit Overhaul, if I just let it install, and then I'm going to enable it, usually at this point I'm moving the file from place I downloaded it from and moving it to here just for ease of mind. Again, this is stuff that you don't have to do, but like I do it because I want it to be neat and orderly, and I want to make sure everything is, I have the file in case it gets removed. I never use this at all. This is literally all from Wabbajack, and everything else has just been my own meddling. So normally I just So this is a new mod. I'll put it way down here. Generally, the left should match the right. So if I just start clicking down here, you can see the blue is being pushed further down, is because everything here is perfectly matching what's on the left. Everything should be perfectly ordered, so it's just easier to work with if everything is perfect. So where did I put this lawless thingy? Okay, I put it last because it's last here. So I'm gonna open up XEdit and show you what I mean by some mods being way too difficult to patch. Now, it's not saying they're impossible. If you really want to spend the extra time, you can. Again, this is totally up to you. This is your list. Everything you do will stay up there forever. Wabbajack doesn't auto-update lists, so you never have to worry about them being auto-updated. Steam will update if you don't set the proper precautions. So if you don't go into Skyrim properties, updates, and then do only update this game when I launch it, you gotta do that, otherwise you're screwed. And I didn't do that because I reinstalled Skyrim and then I realized I just forgot. I honestly just forgot, and that's how it is for a lot of people. They just forget, and then their game gets borked, and then they have to wait for Hallgari to push a update, which can be really annoying and inconvenient, which is why I usually keep a... This is actually outdated here. I probably need to get a new pirated copy, so I don't have to worry about that. But anyways, back to my point. So Bandit War, that's what this is called. I'm gonna double tap with Alt select it. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier. These are generally touched by synthesis and Lux water and all these different things. You can see that this is the one that's being pushed before all the others, and that's the way it should be. That's all these should be this color generally, because they're below all the other mods, and that way you don't have to make a gajillion Lux patches. Otherwise, you would need to make a bunch of patches. So going down further, I mean, it doesn't look too bad so far, right? Right? See, like you think it doesn't look so bad, but all right. This is my first conflict. So we have a conflict with Blade and Blunt, which is the way it does. These are combat styles. So again, this is down to personal preference. If you want to copy these over, you can. Generally, for patchworking, I don't recommend overwriting the original ESP because of updates. So you want to go to Copy as Overwrite Into, and then go all the way down, and select this one right here. Double click it, and then type whatever you want. And then yeah. Now level lists, these are a little bit more complicated. These, again, this adds, what does this add? This adds Ebony Greatsword Boss. So you just move that to there. Again, patch it first. If you want, you can make a unified AIO patch, or you could do singular patches for each mod. Now, there's advantages and disadvantages for each. Obviously, you have an AIO patch. That means everything's being put into one patch, and then you don't have to worry about a bunch of extra files that you're just putting everywhere, and just it can be a bit of a mess if there's too many patches. However, this is also the downside to make an AIO is that if you remove a mod, and then that mod is a master in your AIO patch, which means that you have to remove all the contents from that patch, and then clean the file, which you could do by doing clean masters, and then that'll remove that file, and then you can go on. But see, there's clearly advantages and disadvantages here. Do what you want. It doesn't, as long as it's you're backing stuff up and you're being careful, it doesn't really matter. See, a lot of these are not too bad. However, okay, this is where things start getting a little funky, right? So big lists like this generally have a lot of NPC overhauls. They have stuff like get a better example here. Where is it? Oh well, I'll find it eventually. This is synthesis, which means you can rerun synthesis, and then this stuff will hopefully be carried over. Sometimes you can't 100% count on synthesis. I don't know how many times I need to repeat myself here, but I will repeat myself in case you weren't listening earlier. Always manually check everything, because these programs are not perfect. Sometimes they will mess up. Sometimes, you know, you'll think it's all set, and then it's not all set, and then you're in game. You're like, why is this not here? And then it's like you look back and it's like, oh, okay, that's why. So always make sure you manually check everything. So these should, if I reran synthesis, these should all be green. Now I'm not going to do that because there's other problems with this mod that go beyond synthesis, really. I mean, it edits a lot of different stuff. So this is, see, right here, okay. This is something that's not even in synthesis. This is complete NPC overhaul Argonians. So you'll have stuff like this, head parts. You'll have all this stuff, red. Now you can go through all of these, and you could do all this. Again, I have carpal tunnel. I don't really feel like it. Whatever. See, here's something from unofficial Skyrim modders patch. There's unofficial. See, there's two different ones, and they're both doing something here. What is this doing? This is editing object bounds, and it's doing this, whatever the heck this is. I don't know what that is, but it's something. I think it's making sure that only the player can use this. I have no idea. I have no clue. But this is what I mean. You have all this, and it keeps going. This is a huge mod. This is a fucking huge mod. So it is gonna touch a lot of different stuff. And if you have all this stuff here, and this is gonna take a while. Now, obviously, again, you can look for patches that have already been made. However, the problem with that, you have to make sure, manually check that the patches are updated for the latest version of this, otherwise you're going to have issues. So it can become a real nightmare sometimes. And this is wow, this video is 37 minutes. I cannot. I thought it was only going to be like a 10-minute video, but as soon as I start talking about this stuff, I just don't know how to shut up. Oh my god. So yeah, I'm going to keep going here. Just to show you, these are, if you ever see anything in black, that means it's a new record. You could always check by seeing 46. Bandit War 46, that means these are records added by this mod. So these, unless another mod is tweaking these, it's generally going to stay good. You don't have to patch these, they're all good. So going down further, let's see, anything else? Anything else? Oh, this is red. What does this mean? Occlusion. Oh, it doesn't matter. This is, see, sometimes it's a false alarm. This is red. That means this is being overwritten, but that doesn't matter because water for ENB is putting this water here. See, 49, 49. So this is water for ENB. Obviously, it's changed from vanilla, and since it's red, this is reporting that it's a conflict when in fact it's not. It's technically a conflict, but it's a it's a benign conflict, I guess. So there's benign conflicts, and then there's real bad conflicts that you just don't want. Like the things I was talking about earlier. I mean, you could ignore those, but again, then your Argonians won't look the way they're supposed to because, you know, they're being edited. So stuff like this, you could see these are all the right color. These are all light yellow. So they're, how does that look on my other screen? Yeah, that is still light yellow. This screen is a little bit brighter than my other one, so I kind of don't really know sometimes what things look like. See, this is being edited by occlusion, and Probably Lux too. Yep, Lux. So yeah, so this is Bandit War. So Bandit War obviously is very, very, very incompatible. So I'm gonna remove it. And I already did this. I already looked this over beforehand. That's why I know it was so incompatible. And I'm gonna delete it there. Boom, gone. No harm done. There is no harm done here. It's literally everything. Nothing has been touched. See, if you want to check something over and you see it doesn't work, which stuff like this, inconvenient dungeons, is going to be a nightmare in XEdit. If you're adding something like, for instance, a mod that I really, really, really like, however, it touches a lot of different things, including occlusion, Dindulod, etc., is the Forgotten Dungeons mods. I've made dozens upon dozens upon dozens of my own patches for Forgotten Dungeons. I've published my own mods that highly use. I feel like Forgotten Dungeons is like a part of me, and it feels essential to my Skyrim modding experience, which is why I'm probably gonna try to get this into here eventually. But that is something that is going to be really hard to put in because you would have to rerun Dindulod and all this stuff, synthesis, everything, if you want it, because that it adds a lot of world space stuff, which is world space, as opposed to cell. World space actually puts things in the Skyrim world. So, for instance, a dungeon that's close to Whiterun, that's going to show up in the LOD. Now, if you do not run the LOD, you're not going to see it unless you get close to it. And then it'll kind of just like morph in, and it'll look really bad, and, you know, it's just generally a good idea to rerun Dindulod and all that stuff. And you can if you want to. There's Dindulod, there's TextGen, but before you do that, make sure that you back up the stuff that you see here. So back up this, back up this, back up this, back up all of it, because it's very, very important, and you do not want those getting messed up. Now I'm going to show you synthesis because, yeah, I'm just going to show you synthesis. Now I have it right here. So this is my synthesis output tweaked. This is the only file. I'm just going to disable it for now. It's right at the bottom. I don't have to remember anything fancy. It's just right there. Okay. Oh, okay, so now this is, yeah, right. So this is telling me that it needs to be there, obviously. So instead, I'm going to do this little neat trick. Now, this is what, if you don't want to delete anything, you can just do this. There. See, now it's there, and now when I reload this, it'll say missing files, and that'll be gone. Now, that's actually what I did for this. So, where is it? Oh, not there. Actually. Oh, I know where it is. I know where it is. I'm sorry I keep backtracking, but... Alright, it's this. Alright, so I hid these because I didn't want to delete them, but I also didn't want them in a load order, so I just kind of... I hid them. And Mod Organizer 2 actually has a thing for that where you can hide things if you want, like this, and then that'll automatically put the MO hidden tag on the ends of things. So it gets pretty complicated. However, I'm going to show you synthesis now, and now this is where is it? It's enabled, so it should be fine. So synthesis is going to come up now. Again, I mentioned this before, but the Animoculary this right here, if you go into adding mods to AVO, let's see, oh, this is 44 minutes, Christ. Synthesis. These are not current. This is, well, some of those are, but there's Synthfloris Fix, but there's also a bunch of other stuff, so I wouldn't recommend that this needs to be updated. There's a lot of stuff here that that needs to be you know, change to reflect the new versions. But for now, it's fine. Don't worry about it. But if you want to rerun synthesis, all you gotta do is press run, and these can be tweaked. They usually have settings if you want to edit what they do. Let's see, is there one that show more? Yeah, stuff like this. So there's like a bunch of different things you can tweak here, and this takes around 5 minutes. I think, was it 5 minutes that it took me to run this? It depends on how many modules you have here, and then if you want more, you could just do git repository and then search, and there's a bunch of them here. So see, this is the one I was talking about before, ELE patches for enhanced lighting for ENB. That used to be used on this, but now it's not, so don't worry about it. It's just not. But you can add however many of these you want. I mean, they all do interesting different things, and yeah. So that's synthesis. You just press run, and then it'll save, and then it'll appear in your synthesis output tweaked, or wherever the folder is, whatever it is. I'm just going to unhide this now because I do actually need it. So let's do that. And there it is, right back where I put it. So is that everything? My voice is getting pretty parched now. It's really parched. It's starting to get hard to speak. So I'm probably gonna leave it here. I think this presets now. When you do certain things like make a race menu preset, MCM, stuff like that, it'll generally go and overwrite, and then you'll need to take it out if you want. I always back up everything, like I said before. So presets, this type of stuff, you see MCM settings, it's an INI file. So I mean, you don't have to do this again, but like if you want to like reinstall everything is right there for you now. And that's generally the way I do things. So yeah, this is my tutorial. I hope you find it useful. Some of these mods, some of these patches, mind you, not all the mods. Like this, for instance, that's something that I made that I never published. You know, I don't publish every mod that I make or tweak. So if you want it, you can ask, and I'll send it to you via Discord. But you know, generally, most of these mods are available. These are not, because these I cannot legally share these due to copyright infringement. However, I will not continue that sentence. But yeah, I cannot legally share these, but they're there. Yeah, and let's see what else. Is there anything else? No, I just yeah, everything here is mostly available. So oh yeah. Oh, another thing about AVO that I really like is that, and this is actually not something that, I mean, most lists are actually compatible roughly out of the box with one of my favorite mods, which is Skyrim Upscaler for the ENB version. This is a Patreon-only mod by Pure Dark that basically allows you to use DLSS with Skyrim. So you can have it if you really can't run the game very well, and you have an RTX card or you have a card that supports FSR, you can use this. And I haven't tested the FSR because I have a 3060, which I'm pretty sure you can use that with an RTX card, but I haven't tested anything. So it has DLSS FSR2. This is Intel's thingy, and then DLAA, which is it's not DLSS, and it's the public version of the mod because it works with ENB. This is a special version that has to be worked for ENB. There's two different versions. There's this one, and then there's the other one. So you gotta make sure you have this one if you want it working with ENB. I use quality settings. You can set it to balanced or performance. If you're having a really rough time, just note that there will be more. It won't look as good as as the quality version or ultra quality or whatever. But yeah, this is generally what if you have an RTX card, or if you have AMD card, you want to use FSR2, you can, and then that will basically it'll run Skyrim at 720p or 480p or whatever, and then upscale it, which will get you a lot more performance. So a list like this, I generally get 60 FPS without like 50 to 60 actually without DLSS, and then with DLSS I get 70 to 80. So it's a really big jump in performance if you want to use this. Really big jump in performance. So yeah. So that's pretty much it. This is 50 minutes. I honestly didn't expect it to get this long, but whatever. Alright, thanks for watching.